All right, welcome back for another video. This is Matt the Rat, or Mitten Man, as my handle is called, but I play Matt the Rat on MTG Arena. And this is for newer players, players that are just kind of getting started with MTG, learning how to play, or want to learn how to play different decks. And we're going to go through some of this. In other videos, I'm going to explain different aspects of Arena, how to build decks, how to get decks off the internet. But again, this is just for newer players right now. So we're going to go through and discuss a couple of different types of player decks here. And we're going to go with a standard play here. There's different types to play, and you can look up the different types of formats of play and what they do. If you go to your profile, there'll be a section in there. Actually, let me just show you. We'll go to profile, and let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. It's over in the Codex of the Multiverse. That's going to show you the different formats of play. You have constructed, limited, precons, and jump in, which are, I'll explain different ones, but the constructed here, that's what we're playing. We're playing standard. Then you saw alchemy, explorer, historic, timeless, and brawl. And then there's the bot match where you just play against the computer. So you can go through this and read those as you like. And then for the other formats there, they're all kind of fun in their own way. But right now, we're going to go back and we're going to play standard game unranked against someone else. And we're going to be playing my mono blue deck. And that just means all blue deck. All cards are blue. And tempo means it kind of is, it's not like an aggressive get out there at the beginning. We're going to control the flow of the game and then eventually build up our cards and then attack in about the middle to late game. So we want to mitigate the damage that the opponent's going to do in the beginning of the game by removing cards and bouncing cards back to their hands. And then all the while we're building up the power levels of our creatures either in our hand or on the board. So, but we'll go through this more as we play. All right, let's see who we get. And I will have other decks I'm going to play. I have a mono red burn deck, as it's called, because it just goes in and just burns the player and their creatures like crazy. So starting out with our hand, let's take a look. 2 land, return creatures. So this isn't really the greatest hand to start off with because we don't have anything we can do in the first turn. Like to be able to do that. The opponent's going to go first. So they're going to play without drawing. So then when our first turn, we're going to play and we're going to get a card. But we're going to mulligan down. And again, we do have a Haughty Djinn. That's the basis for our attack in the entire game. So I'm going to stick with this. 3 lands, not bad. Return 1 card. We'll put this one in there. I'll explain the cards as we play. So one thing too is when you're looking at their cards, you can look like this, and sometimes there's a lot of text. You can right click and it'll expand the card. So first we're going to play a land. Nothing that we can do in this turn right now because everything's at least a 2-drop. Okay, when he enters the battlefield, pay 1, and times when you pay this cost 1 or times, put that many valor counters on intrepid vests. Creatures he controls get +1 for each counter. Okay, so we're going to play another land. And I think right here we can bounce their creature back to their hand. And we want to do that more so to be getting our instants into our graveyard. Because with this guy, every instance we have in the graveyard is going to make him 1 level tougher. So even though he isn't really like a supercharged creature, I want to start getting instants into the graveyard. See, because now he's a 1/4 instead of a 0/4. Play another land. Now we could bring out our Haughty Djinn, but he's only a 1/4 right now, and I want to allow him to grow. So I'm going to just try to control the game, making creatures disappear, and look in my deck. I have a lot of cards to look in my deck to see if I can get other cards, like control cards and bounce cards, that sort of thing. All right. Oh, shoot, he's exiling cards, so that didn't help us any. We would have had 3/4 on the Djinn. Now we're back to 1/4 because he's good. So I want to get rid of him as soon as possible. That's not a cool card. I don't have anything to bounce him with though at the moment. Take a look at some more cards. Okay, I need more land. So get him out there. So now we have enough to counter a spell of theirs. If he played something like that, we can put this out there. Unless he can pay 2, which he can't because he doesn't have 2 mana, that's going to disappear. So that's kind of how we control the flow of the game and try to do that as much as possible with the creatures and different spells. But he keeps asking, I need to get rid of this guy one way or another. I'm not sure how to do that yet. I'll bring him out as a little blocker. Hopefully that'll stop them from... Can't stop his abilities. You can't stop abilities of creatures. But if they attack... So that's his ability. It's just driving me nuts because it's driving down the power of my Djinn here. And he does it again. Oh, I guess it's because he has enough. Ugh. It only costs him 1 to do that. See, my Djinn's now back down to 1. Ugh. Um, I like to arrange my cards by lowest mana to highest mana. Wish there was a way I could get rid of that guy. He's just killing my whole play here. So where's our Djinn? He's back down to 0 strength. This is not great. Okay. So I'm going to save my mana so I can get rid of any creatures. Let's see, this is target creatures. So it's not just spells, it's... And we're going to do this for 3. I'll still have enough, I think, for... Yeah, I'll still have enough. And I've got 2 new control cards in turn. I can any spell, non-creature spell. Nothing I can do about that. So this guy obviously knows how to fight against this blue Djinn deck. Although maybe I should have done it different because he can pay the 2 to bring that out, and so that was a wasted card, except for it did give my Djinn 2. So I have to block here because I'll only have 1 life left. I need to bring something out. So I might as well bring one of my Djinns at least for a blocker. And I'll save, what do we got there? 1 and 1. Since he costs 1. So I have some options. Non-creature spell, any spell. I can't use this because if he pays 2, he'll just make my card invalid. So not really much I can do there. So this is not going well for us right now. So he still has 2. Nothing I can do about it. Doesn't look like we're going to win this game. We would have been well off in this game if he didn't keep exiling all of my cards. See, now he's a 3-4 instead of a 4-4. Now we're gonna block. Gonna take a look in our hands, see what we can get. 2 left, we're gonna, oh boy. Yeah, we're gonna have to concede. There's nothing we can do. He's gonna win on his turn. Okay. Not the greatest way to start the matches, but can't win them all. See how we do against the next opponent. That's the first time I've actually seen someone with a deck that exiled my cards from my graveyard. It's a common thing for black, but I've never really seen it in white. But I also am a newer player to the game. Some little sayings they have here. So if you notice any mistakes that I'm doing, go ahead and put a comment in the notes. And for the best comment out there that I think is the best comment, it's most helpful or funny, I'm going to give them a shout out in the next episode. So this one's okay because on round 2, I can start looking into my deck. And we also have him, so we can buff him up later. So we're going to keep this. Opponent goes first means they're on the play. We go second means we're on the draw because we draw a card. Listeners, here enters the battlefield with 3 old counters. Remove 1 and scry. So he's scrying right now. He's looking at his deck. And instead of keep it, he put it on the bottom. Okay, we're going to look into our hand. It's a pretty powerful card. So all 3 of these enable me to look into my library and select some cards and some I have to put back. So we need to come up with something here quick because he's starting to get a nice list of creatures out here. 2, 2, 2, 1. Ugh, we got nothing going on here. Try again. Hopefully we get something. Okay, we'll bring him out because we need some creatures as blockers. And the cool thing about him is the more instants and sorceries we have in the graveyard over here, the less he costs to cast. So see, right now I have 1, well, just instant sorcery, so I have 2 in there. So if we look at our Jin, he has a power of 2. toughness at 2. So it's not a deck that typically gets up and running right off the bat. It's one since he's doing damage right now and I just want to use up some instants, we're going to bounce him back. And we have 3 left. So let's bring out the Jin right now as kind of a blocker. So kind of incentive for them not to attack because with the toughness of 3, we would destroy their creatures. And he's a flyer. So flyers mean that they could go over the top of creatures unless one of my creatures is either a flyer or has the ability called reach. We can't touch their flyers. Okay. I guess well, let's look for some more cards here. So we'll take another one of him. I think we're good with land. There. And so we have enough to bring one of these guys out, or do we have something? Let's just bring him out. Doesn't have any mana, so he can't do anything with the cards in there, so we're gonna go ahead and attack. And he's his summoning sickness, that's what that black circle means. The other ones don't have any ability to do any damage to us. They could absorb 3, but mine has toughness of 4, so if he attacked with 1, he can only take up to 3 damage, so he would be destroyed. And he's a flyer, so we can't block that. And let's send him back to his hand. Put that on the bottom of our deck. It's because we scryed. And so we're gonna draw a card for each card we have. So that fills up our hand again pretty well. And they can't do anything to us, so we're going to attack with both. They could block, but they're good, and they'll absorb the damage, but they're going to also die. And because we have, yep, he gave up, saw the writing on the wall. All right, notch to win, so it's 1-1. We'll go one more game. Again, if you saw any mistakes or funny comments about how I'm playing or anything with the game, leave a comment below, and the funniest one, I'll give a shout out to the individual in the next session. One more game. Also, if there's things that I'm kind of going fast over, if you got questions about what's this, what's that regarding the game, leave it in the comments as well, and I'll be happy to explain that in the next session. So we can do stuff in our first drop. We have 2 lands. We're going to go second, so we're on the draw, whereas the opponent goes first, so he's on the play because he doesn't get to draw on his first turn. So we're going to keep these. And then on our first turn, we're going to use this to hopefully look into our deck and see if we get something good, something that's useful. And he is definitely useful, so we're going to keep him. He's kind of the key to our deck here. Put a bunch of instants and sorceries in our graveyard, and that buffs him up. So we have one instance in our graveyard right now. He's playing black and red. That's a very tough combo. They can do a lot of damage with their... They can do a lot of damage fast with small creatures. And then with the black, they've got a lot of stuff that allows them to like kill your creatures or take cards out of your graveyard. So this is a multi-threat here. Typically my deck doesn't do the greatest. This mono blue doesn't do the greatest against black red. But we shall see. I don't know what he's waiting on here. Alright. Let's look back into our deck and see what we have going on here. Guess let's keep him. And we can use another land coming up here. So these are all the attackers I have in my deck. The good thing about them is normally they're a 7 mana cost. But for each instance or sorcery I have in there, it drops the cost down by 1. So where he was a 7 to cast him, he's now down at 3. So you can see how kind of this deck has come together. It's all about getting instants and sorceries into the graveyard. And let's just bring one out right now, make him a blocker, and hopefully we get some cards that will allow us to like negate his spells or creatures coming out. I don't have any yet, but that's kind of the plan if we can. Now that's a typical burn tactic. They'll bring out a card that either does more damage than the creature can take, or black would be more of a discard or destroy creature thing. So we have 3 mana here, so that's enough to bring one of these guys out, or him. Plus 1 more, we could bounce back one of his creatures. So let's do this first, see if he does anything in response to that. And now we're on our second main phase. I'll go through these in a little bit. I'm going to bounce back one of his creatures. Mostly it's a 1/1, but mostly I want to do that just to get more instances and sorceries in there. So he's now a 5/4. And notice that he's got this blue glow around him. So that's called a ward. For any spells to do any damage to him, they have to pay the cost of their spells, instant or sorcery. But on top of that, they have to pay another 2. Otherwise, the spell won't work. So, nice little added bonus there. And it never hurts to keep an eye on how many cards your opponent has in their hand, and also keep an eye on the amount of mana that they've spent or not spent. Okay, I'd like to try to hopefully get some cards in here that will give us some defense, like bounce their creatures back. Doesn't look like that's happening. We've got the one to bounce a creature back, but I'm going to hold on to that. I'll bring him out. Hopefully he doesn't have anything to destroy my creatures yet. He could block with this one. This one has got that black circle because it's summoning sickness. When he first comes out, they can't do anything the first turn. So he could block there, destroy, and it would counter all the damage. He would absorb all that damage, but it kills him. So none of that damage went through to the opponent. Oof. So that'll be a good one to bounce back in their hand, especially when we go to attack. I'll show you about that in a minute here. If everything still looks the same on my turn. What's that? Massacre Girl, known killer. Oof. Sounds vicious. Okay, so we're on our main phase. We're going to go to combat next, so I press next. Now we're in combat. He's got an option to do something if he can or wants to, if he has the cards for it. Maybe something to either buff up his creatures or to get rid of mine. I'm going to declare him as my only attacker. One attacker. And then here, I'm going to bounce that creature back. Which I really should have. I made a mistake right there. I really should have attacked with both. And before we do that, we'll just take a look, see if we get any other cards that might be helpful here. And we'll bounce him back too. Really wish I would have attacked with both. I don't know what I was thinking there. So he only has one mana and it's red, and typically red decks don't have counter spells. We don't need the mana, so we're going to put that on the bottom of the deck because this card allowed us to scry. And here we go with 5 instead of 14 because I made a mistake. But that's how you grow and learn. So he has the mana. Ugh. Target non-creature. So he's not considered a creature here. See if this goes through, that's just going to totally get rid of that card that he's trying to cast. And he only has 1 mana left, so... all right. Got the win. 2-1. Not bad. All right, we'll wrap up here and call it a day. So you get some coins and experience points when you win games. And I think that's all for today. I'm going to just show you my deck right now. I've got one I just made, a budget green white, this enchantment deck. This black one I'm kind of just building. I'm calling it an experiment right now. And these two are my burn decks. They're all red cards, and they burn or they go fast. So I might play those next time. This is the mono blue tempo that we were just playing. A green dino deck. It's all trying to make it all dinosaurs. I'm going to be playing that against a friend of mine who I play with on Arena here. And this one is also another deck that I'm just building. It's going to be all soldiers basically in that deck, and that's just to play against friends too. These aren't at the competitive level. They can't compete with other decks that are out there that I want to compete against. And I'll also explain later also what when I have more time, what the competitive scene is on MTG Arena. So that's going to about wrap it up for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like and subscribe if you feel inclined. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. And don't forget, leave a comment about any mistakes I made or the funniest comment. I love funny. So either one of those, whichever one's the best, I'm going to pick that and I'm going to give a shout out to that person in the next episode. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Bye bye.